Play football.
Bod and trying to maintain the weight now. So we go to the final stretch, which is the weight cut on fight week.
Terence Crawford has teamed up in training with Xander Zayas, but what's shocking the boxing world is the mixed message coming from Crawford himself. While helping prepare Zayas for the biggest fight of his career, Crawford has also openly questioned whether the young star is truly ready for a challenge this dangerous right now. Speaking ahead of the showdown, Crawford didn't hide his concerns. He admitted it's an extremely tough fight and then made the comment that instantly caught everyone's attention, that it might still be a little too early for Zayas. And that's what makes the situation so fascinating. One of the greatest fighters of this era is seeing Zayas every day in the gym, round after round, watching his strengths and weaknesses up close, yet still isn't completely convinced he's fully prepared for the moment ahead. That creates a completely different kind of tension around the fight. Because when praise comes with hesitation from someone like Crawford, it suggests the danger involved is very real.
It's a tough fight, especially for Xander at this point in his career, but it shows his heart and his confidence, that he has in himself, and he's ready to go make history for his country, and he's going to do real well in that fight. I just think, right now, it's a little bit too early for him.
So now the question isn't just about who wins anymore. It's about why Terence Crawford would personally step in to help Xander Zayas if he truly believes the young star could be walking into something far too big, far too soon. That's what makes this situation feel completely different from a normal fight build-up. This isn't just another announcement. It's a high-stakes gamble that could completely reshape the 154-pound division overnight. And the deeper you look into it, the more complicated it becomes. Zayas is no longer viewed as just another prospect with potential. He's already undefeated, already holding titles, and already carrying the expectations of an entire boxing culture on his shoulders. At only 23 years old, he's been positioned as Puerto Rico's next global superstar, the kind of fighter fans don't simply watch, but emotionally invest in and build hopes around. That's why Crawford's hesitation matters so much. It suggests this fight is not only about talent, but about timing, pressure, maturity, and whether Zayas is truly ready for the level of danger waiting for him when the spotlight becomes this intense.
Today is kind of like technical work, more to like sweat and just stay in shape, stay with the tempo, stay with the rhythm. So that's what I'm thinking of, like what do we have?
Every performance, every win, and every step forward for Xander Zayas has been building towards something bigger. But this moment feels completely different. This isn't a slow, calculated climb anymore. This is a leap into a level of danger and pressure that can instantly change a fighter's career. Even while praising Zayas, Terence Crawford made it clear that taking a fight like this requires a completely different mentality. He talked about the heart needed to accept this kind of challenge and the confidence required to truly believe you belong among the elite. And that's the one thing nobody doubts about Zayas, his belief in himself. The real concern is whether belief alone is enough at this stage. Because behind the scenes, there are still respected voices throughout boxing who aren't fully convinced the timing is right. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes this fight feel so risky and fascinating at the same time.
The matchup they're still two young guys. Boots is 28, but he's still a young guy. He's in his prime. And, Xander Zayas is 23. And when I look at this matchup initially, the first thing I think about, is it too soon for Xander Zayas? Is it a year too soon? Is it a year and a half too soon? Some would say, but he's still he's a two-time world champion. That doesn't.
Andre Ward, someone who understands career pacing better than almost anyone in boxing, put it bluntly when talking about Xander Zayas' situation. In his view, this fight might be happening a year too soon, maybe even a year and a half too early. And coming from Ward, that doesn't sound like casual criticism. It sounds like a warning. Because boxing history is filled with fighters who had all the talent in the world but were pushed into the wrong fight at the wrong moment before they were fully ready. And now Zayas is standing right at that dangerous line between confidence and exposure. What makes it even more risky is the man waiting across from him. Jaron Ennis isn't just another undefeated fighter. He's built a reputation as one of the most explosive, unpredictable, and complete talents in boxing today. He combines speed, power, creativity, and killer instinct in a way that makes many fighters quietly avoid him altogether. Which means if Zayas steps into this moment too early, the consequences could completely reshape the future of his career overnight.
They shooting!
Jaron Ennis brings everything a dangerous elite fighter needs: power, speed, creativity, explosiveness. He doesn't just win fights, he takes control of them, forcing opponents into uncomfortable situations where his athleticism and instincts completely take over the pace of the contest. And maybe the most important part is this: Ennis has been waiting for a moment exactly like this. 4 years, one consistent criticism has followed him despite all the hype surrounding his talent. He still hasn't had that defining opponent. The one major fight that proves everything people say about him is truly real against top-level competition. That's why this matchup feels so dangerous for Xander Zayas. Because while Zayas is trying to prove he belongs among boxing's elite, Ennis may see this as the perfect opportunity to finally silence every remaining doubt around his own name and establish himself as one of the most feared fighters in the sport.
There's a lot of top guys and a lot of big names at this weight division, and I'm just excited. You know, I'm ready to, like I said, I'm ready to take over this division one by one. I'm gonna knock them down one by one and show the world why, like I said, why I'm the best. Hopefully everybody continue to want to fight each other, especially after I'm victorious on June 27th. You know, I'm going back to back to back to back. I'm trying to be undisputed, and which I will be undisputed at 154. So bring them all.
Now Jaron Ennis finally has the opportunity he's been waiting for, and he knows it. When asked about all the outside noise, predictions, criticism, and even Terence Crawford's public doubts, Ennis brushed it off completely. In his mind, there's no real debate about where he stands in the division. He openly declared that he's the best fighter at 154 pounds and believes everybody already knows it. That's more than confidence. That's complete certainty in his own dominance. But certainty alone doesn't make this situation simple. Because while Ennis looks unstoppable on the surface, this fight could reveal things fans haven't truly seen from him before. And that's exactly where the story suddenly becomes far more interesting. For all the hype surrounding Ennis, not everyone is convinced he's untouchable. Andre Ward, one of the sharpest analytical minds in boxing, didn't hold back when discussing the matchup. On paper, Ward agrees with what everyone already sees. Ennis is explosive, talented, athletic, and capable of taking over a fight in an instant. But when he looked deeper, Ward pointed out there are still unanswered questions beneath all that dominance, and those questions could become very important once Ennis faces someone willing to push him into uncomfortable territory under the brightest lights.
The question or concern that I have for Boots is Boots has had his way so much that I don't always see Boots, even though he does have skill defensively, he doesn't always use it. I see Boots sometimes get hit with clean flush shots, and I'll see him get hit in a fight with a repeated shot. And my boxing brain says, you took that shot against this guy, what if you get hit with that same shot against that guy?
Andre Ward pointed out something about Jaron Ennis that many fans overlook because of all the hype around his explosiveness and talent. Ennis gets hit clean, sometimes very clean. Not just occasionally, but flush shots that haven't fully cost him yet because of the level of opposition he's faced so far. Ward's concern isn't about Ennis lacking ability. It's about the habits he sometimes falls into inside the ring. According to Ward, Ennis has shown he can be defensively disciplined when he wants to be, but there are moments where he relies more on reflexes, athleticism, and confidence than on tight structure and positioning. Those are the moments where openings appear. Openings that lesser opponents couldn't fully capitalize on, but that becomes a completely different story against a sharper, more prepared fighter specifically training to exploit them. And that's why Ward believes this fight is both necessary and dangerous at the same time. For Ennis' legacy, this is exactly the kind of matchup he needs: a real name, a real challenge, a real test under pressure. But it also introduces a level of calculated risk he hasn't truly faced before, because if those defensive habits remain, this could be the first time someone makes him pay for them in a serious way.
If Jaron Boots Ennis is able to deal with Xander Zayas and stop him and dominate him, it's going to prove a lot of what we've already seen and know about Boots, is that he has it and he just needed the opportunity to prove it. So
this is the kind of fight that can either confirm greatness or completely complicate the narrative around Jaron Ennis. And that's what makes the situation even more layered, because the person who may understand Ennis' level better than almost anyone is standing in the opposite training camp. Inside that camp, things reportedly aren't built around hype or emotion. Terence Crawford isn't there simply to motivate Xander Zayas. He's there to refine him. Every session, every adjustment, every correction is centered around something deeper than just preparing physically for a fight. Crawford has long been known for mentally breaking opponents down before the physical damage even begins, and now that mindset is being passed directly onto Zayas. The focus isn't about throwing more punches or forcing action. It's about fighting smarter, slowing the pace, controlling distance, staying disciplined, and choosing the right moments to engage instead of reacting emotionally or instinctively. Those details might sound small from the outside, but in elite boxing they can change everything. Because that's often the difference between a talented fighter and a truly elite one, the ability to stay composed, calculated, and mentally sharp when the pressure becomes overwhelming.
27, Barkley center, and still. We make history. History follow me. I'm addicted to it.
Xander Zayas, who built his rise through sharp combinations and relentless forward pressure, is now reportedly being pushed to think about boxing in a completely different way under the guidance of Terence Crawford. The focus is no longer just aggression or volume. It's about setting traps instead of chasing moments, forcing opponents to commit first and then making them pay for every mistake. And that subtle shift in mentality could change everything about this fight. Because if there's one thing Crawford has mastered throughout his career, it's identifying patterns and exploiting weaknesses with ruthless precision. Which brings the conversation right back to Jaron Ennis. If the concerns about his defensive lapses are real, if those openings still appear when pressure builds, then what's happening inside this training camp may not be random at all. It quietly raises one of the most fascinating questions surrounding the fight. Is Crawford specifically preparing Zayas not just to survive against Ennis, but to expose him? Nobody is saying that openly, but when you connect all the pieces together, the possibility becomes difficult to ignore. And just when the matchup already feels massive, the comparisons being made around it take the entire conversation to another level. Eddie Hearn compared the situation to the famous 2013 clash between Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez. Back then, Canelo was the young undefeated star full of momentum and hype, but he stepped into the ring against a master operating at the peak of his abilities. Even in defeat, that night elevated Canelo into a global superstar and completely reshaped his career. Now many are wondering if history could be repeating itself. Like Canelo back then, Zayas is stepping up against someone many believe is currently operating at a higher level. Someone sharper, more experienced, and more proven under the brightest lights. Which means this fight may end up being far bigger than just a win or loss. It could become the defining moment that changes how the boxing world sees both fighters forever.
I think Boots Ennis is a future pound-for-pound number one of the sport, but you have to produce. This, to me, feels a bit like Mayweather-Canelo, in the point of a young generational great who's rolling the dice probably a little bit too early. But that's what made Canelo great, is the fact that he took that kind of fight and had the balls to do it. So you have to respect Zayas, and the fact that he's willing to do it is a serious threat, because he's not an idiot. Top rank aren't idiots.
But this is where the situation becomes truly fascinating. Eddie Hearn made it clear that Team Xander Zayas is not approaching this fight with the mindset of simply earning respect in defeat. They genuinely believe they can win. They're not stepping into this matchup just to compete or survive. They believe they're stepping in to take over the division entirely. And that's why the narrative around this fight suddenly splits into two completely different directions. On one side, this could still become the night Zayas officially announces himself to the world, even in a loss, by proving he belongs among boxing's elite against Jaron Ennis. But on the other side, this could become something much bigger than that. It could be the moment where a young fighter doesn't just arrive on the scene, but takes the throne far earlier than anyone expected. Because if Zayas actually wins this fight, the entire division changes overnight. That's what makes this matchup so unpredictable and so important. It's no longer just about skill, talent, or timing. It's about whether we are watching a carefully calculated rise, or the beginning of a complete power shift inside the division itself. And when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, this fight stops feeling like it's only about Zayas and Ennis. Instead, it starts to look like the center of something much larger. Because the winner won't just walk away with belts or headlines. The winner could walk away with a direct path toward complete control of the division and the future of boxing at 154 pounds.
It'll be Boots taking chances, sitting in the pocket, maybe getting hit himself, but trying to knock Xander Zayas out, not trying to go 12 rounds. not trying to put on a boxing masterclass, not trying to tell you after how he didn't get touched. And it's all about hit and not get hit.
We're now talking about a legitimate path toward undisputed status at 154 pounds. Fighters like Sebastian Fundora and Josh Kelly are already hovering around the picture, and the expectation inside boxing is becoming very clear. Whoever wins between Xander Zayas and Jaron Ennis could be just one major fight away from controlling the entire division. But even that road comes with serious complications. Terence Crawford added another unexpected twist when he warned that Ennis might be overlooking a dangerous problem in the division: Fundora himself. With his towering frame, awkward southpaw stance, and chaotic style, Fundora has already caused major issues for elite-level fighters before. Crawford didn't dismiss Ennis at all, but he made it clear that the division is far from a one-man show. And that adds another layer of pressure to everything. Because now it's not just about winning this fight. It's about proving you can survive what comes after it. For Zayas, the stakes feel enormous. A victory wouldn't just bring belts or headlines. It could instantly make him the face of Puerto Rican boxing, the type of breakout moment that transforms a talented young prospect into a worldwide star carrying the expectations of an entire country on his shoulders. But for Ennis, the pressure comes from a different place. He's already been labeled the future of the division. Already been called one of the most dangerous fighters in boxing. Yet one question has continued to follow him everywhere. Who has he truly beaten at the elite level? This fight could finally answer that. A dominant victory over Zayas wouldn't just protect Ennis' reputation. It would solidify it and push him into genuine pound-for-pound conversations instead of conversations built only on potential and hype. And with so much at stake for both men, fighters and analysts across boxing are already starting to weigh in on what could become one of the defining fights of this era.
Against dude, but like from a skill standpoint, I would say just because of he's trickier. Like he's trickier, he gonna catch you with some shit.
Shakur Stevenson gave Xander Zayas his respect, praising him as a young fighter with heart and saying boxing needs more fighters willing to take risks like this. But when it came time to make a prediction, Stevenson didn't hesitate. In his eyes, Jaron Ennis is simply different, the hardest fighter at that weight class right now. That kind of statement only adds more fuel to the tension surrounding this matchup. Because now the fight has become more than hype or promotion. It's turned into a clash between belief and doubt, potential and proof, ambition and reality. And all of it comes down to one night, June 27. Two undefeated fighters. Two completely different paths to this moment. One fight that could permanently change the future of both careers. Because once that bell rings, there's no turning back. One fighter could leave the ring as the new face of the division, while the other may be forced to rebuild the narrative around his entire future.
Is all about two of the best in the 154-pound division squaring off for two versions of the 154-pound title. Jaron Boots Ennis, undefeated, 35-0, two-belt title holder at 147 pounds. Xander Zayas, the young upstart, 23-0.
Xander Zayas walks into this fight with momentum, youth, confidence, and the guidance of one of the greatest fighters of this generation in Terence Crawford. But even that support comes with a shadow hanging over it, because the very mentor helping prepare him has already admitted this challenge might be arriving too soon. Meanwhile, Jaron Ennis enters with power, confidence, and years of dominance behind him. Yet for the first time in his career, there are genuine questions being asked about what happens if he's dragged into deeper waters against an opponent capable of exposing the defensive lapses critics have quietly discussed for years. And that's exactly what makes this matchup so compelling. Nothing about it feels certain. Not the outcome. Not the narrative. Not even what the future of the 154-pound division will look like once it's over. Because this fight isn't just about who wins. It's about what the result actually means. Is this the night Zayas shocks the boxing world and announces himself as a future superstar ahead of schedule? Or is this the moment reality hits and proves that experience at the elite level still matters more than raw talent and belief? Either way, when the final bell rings, the division probably won't look the same again. What do you think happens on fight night?
With a champion, I have two belts. I'm the only one that has two belts in the division. You want these? I don't need to fight you. I could have fought anybody else.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You ain't have to fight me. You could have fought somebody else. But I'm just saying, if you believe in yourself that much,
I believe in myself.
If the roles were reversed, I would have did the same. If you was a challenger and I had the belt, I would have took the 55-45.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to leave a like to support the channel and subscribe to Boxing is Here for the latest boxing updates, fight breakdowns, and expert analysis from around the sport. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, peace.